prosperity or poverty, amid world wars or economic crisis. One sector operates every day, every time, every year. Education. Yet, in March 2020, the entire world came to a standstill almost overnight. The COVID-19 pandemic created one of the largest disruptions of the education system in recent history. Educational activities were halted across the world as schools, colleges, and educational institutions closed indefinitely. As a consequence of the lockdown, we have been forced to alter all aspects of academic activity, from administration to teaching and learning. Colleges and schools began to quickly adapt to the problem using online virtual platforms to teach. India began following the global trend of using online education. Madras Christian College, one among the top colleges in India, has a large number of students hailing from various backgrounds and cultures all across India. The normally busy and bustling campus of about 360 acres is full of students learning to gain academic excellence, spiritual vitality, and social relevance. Now, it has become almost lifeless except for the occasional bird or deer which roam about the scrub jungle without the trace of humans. The lockdown has left students stuck in home, unable to interact or learn in person from the classrooms. Affecting nearly 1.6 billion learners in more than 190 countries across all continents, this sudden COVID-19 pandemic has caused a digital transformation of conventional classrooms and laboratories as a necessity overnight. In most developing countries, including India, the pandemic impacted science education, saw the successful transformation of conventional theory classrooms into absolute e-classrooms. But one question remains still. What about the science laboratories?
The answer to this question is virtual laboratory. Yes, laboratory courses are designed in such a way that students can harvest their practical and life skills. And when the pandemic hit the world, as every country, India is also highly unprepared to face the situation, especially in the education domain. And we had a huge struggling in converting the conventional classrooms into online classrooms. But somehow we managed and we moved to an online platform successfully. But when it comes to laboratory courses, we miserably fail because we do not have a sophisticated way to cater the students' need in their practicals. And we faculty members tried our best to match the students' expectation by providing the virtual practicals available online, but it has its own limitations. Apart from using the available resources, we faculty members performed reactions in the laboratory, taking the video, sharing them to the students, and we have given the values to them for the calculation. But all these things made that as a demo classroom and no pleasure of learning practical classes. And neither students nor faculty members have the satisfaction to have a class. And using of virtual laboratories available online, we had our own strugglings because it has a predefined values and it has a protocol which is not in line with our context and curricula. Some of the virtual practicals are not having protocols which we used to follow in our laboratory. So it has a huge mess up when we think about a laboratory classes, and virtual laboratory classes will have a great platform for students to play with online tools, and especially in chemistry we have a lot of chemicals to play with, and the students have the freedom to choose the chemicals, following the procedures and performing the experiments, and thereby the content is reached them, and we ensure that the knowledge is transferred through virtual laboratories. But unfortunately, all these virtual practicals available online has a lot of problems. For example, the virtual practicals which has login issues, and apart from connectivity issues faced by students, hamper their learning. In order to overcome the limitations, we Madras Christian College proposed to have a virtual chemistry laboratory, a place where students can play with chemicals in an online way, in a safer way, to learn the chemistry concepts clearly, and we want to give the comprehensive understanding about the concepts along with the 21st century skills such as communication, collaboration and critical thinking through the virtual chemistry laboratory.
The proposed project of developing a virtual chemistry lab emerged in a discussion with our principal, Dr. Wilson, who himself is a professor in chemistry. He shared the challenges faced by the staff and students of the Department of Chemistry in remotely working with the simulated experiments available online. Following to the discussion, the Department of Computer Science joined hands with the Department of Chemistry to propose this project. Dr. Vijay Solomon, Dr. Nimmi and myself quickly set on our wheels and started planning the work, and the call for the United Board WPE Digital Content Development Grant came as a great booster for this work. அதுதான் மாற்றி கொடுக்கணும் எழுதி வச்சேன், அது பண்ணல. ஓகே, okay. The main objectives of the virtual chemistry lab are to make the laboratory based learning environment in chemistry functional by using the VCLs during a crisis like the current pandemic, to bridge the gap between theory and practice by designing indigenous VCL customized to our context or curricula. The third is to emphasize whole person education by making the VCLs effective with skill based approach, concept clarity and fostering creativity, critical thinking and numerical or analytical skills. To integrate the VCLs with the curriculum in future so that it becomes a prerequisite for performing physical laboratory experiments. According to our plan and design, sorry. I'll start that again. According to our plan and design, we have decided to develop the VCL as a web application with simulated laboratory experiments for both undergraduate and postgraduate chemistry students. The proposed learning environment includes videos to be explored, online quizzes, virtual lab simulations, feedback forms, reflections and digital records. A student can log into the application and choose the experiment from a list of experiments, watch a video, read the instructions, take up the online test and carry out the experiment using interactive animations. The chemicals, equipment, experimental table and all the other necessary instruments are visualized in the virtual lab. All the apparatuses and glassware needed for the experiment are placed in a shelf, whereas the other equipment like the burette with the stand, digital balance, digital conductivity meter etc. that are used in the experiment are all placed on an experiment table. The user can drag and drop the items needed for the experiment from the shelf, bring them to the table and also choose the equipment on the table to perform step-by-step actions of the experiment using interactive animation. The web application is decided to be developed in a Laravel framework with Adobe Animate and JavaScript for interactive animation, MySQL as database and PHP for backend coding. Also, in the end, a PDF will be generated which will give all the details of the experiment, visualized output, results etc. which the student can submit to the faculty members for evaluation. It can be easily accessed from a desktop or laptop and can spark creativity and critical thinking in students through an interactive way to explain the experiments.